Hello, and welcome back to Life.EV, a podcast that dives into exploring values. I'm your host, Ajit Panicker. I lead an air conditioning company, Nova, and Pure Blue, a technology startup in the air conditioning domain. Every Saturday at 11 a.m., we bring you conversations that go beyond business growth, focusing on the values that fuel it. Let's embark on a journey to uncover our true purpose and how we can grow by enriching our lives. Welcome to Life.EV, where we explore values in life and business. I have with me, as usual, every week, Vivek Asrani. Hi, Vivek. How are you doing?
Hey Ajit, I'm doing very well. How are you?
Absolutely good. To our viewers, Vivek Asrani is the driving force behind Camo Fastener Company, a trailblazing company in the industrial fastener sector. Now, what sets Vivek apart is his deep engagement with the exploration of values. For close to 4 years, he has dedicatedly penned his reflection on this topic every week. These thoughtful insights are accessible on his website, vivekasrani.com. Vivek has authored the book One Day at a Time Reflections from Times of Silence, which further delves into his journey and insights. This thought provoking read is available on Amazon or on his website, offering readers a chance to engage with his profound understanding of values and their role in both personal and professional lives. Today, in this episode, we discuss our internal interference that limit us. Over to you, Vivek. Let's hear this reflection.
So Ajit, I would like to start with reading the first paragraph of the reflection that I wrote on our internal interferences that limit us. We tap into a mere fraction of our true potential. Our performance, no matter how good, can be exponentially better. This is not because we haven't worked hard and tried our best. It is because subconsciously we have interferences that limit our ability to live to our true capacity. And these internal interferences, Ajit, if it's like you're wearing glasses and you're not able to see very clearly. It's only because there is a layer of dust or something is interfering the clear sight. So very similarly, our potential, which is huge within, is not able to come out to its full glory and in its full force because of these interferences. So in my reflection, I have talked about 6 interferences. The first is our past. All of us are a product of what has happened to us, whether it be in our childhood, whether it be while we were growing up, whether it be experiences in our personal or professional life, whether it be in the recent past. Anything that's happened in the past starts, becoming part of us. If we learn from the past, we propel ourselves forward. If we continue living in the past because that has emotionally bogged us down, then that becomes an interference because we're not able to deliver our best because our past is holding us back. The second interference I've spoken about is fear. Fear is always of the unknown and the anxiety of the future, that what if this happens and what if that happens and will this happen? Will I, will this play out the way I've thought about it? And supposing this doesn't happen. Now, all these thoughts are all unmanifest as we speak. But what they're doing, not only are they creating an anxiety in us, not only are they creating a fear in us, but that emotion of fear is blocking the free flow of dynamic thought and action in and through us. The third interference I've spoken about is overconfidence. Very often, because we've been successful in the past, we feel that we don't have to work as hard to achieve the same thing. Oh, I've done this. I know how to do it. I don't need to pay so much attention. It's second nature to me. And that overconfidence takes away our discipline, takes away our diligence, takes away our commitment. It doesn't take away our talent. It just brings in us an attitude that I really don't need to be as disciplined, committed, and focused as I used to be earlier because I've done this so often. And that interferes with us giving our best. The fourth interference I've spoken about is attachment. when we have a deep sense of attachment, there is also a deep sense of fear linked to it, that if something goes wrong with that attachment, then I will be shattered. And that feeling of attachment, that attachment becomes more important than the purpose for which I'm doing something, starts interfering with our internal thought process, and that kind of holds us back. The fifth interference is I can't do it. Very often, Ajit, I don't know whether it's happened to you, but it's definitely happened to me. We have this internal self-talk which leads to self-doubt, and we hear ourselves talking to ourselves, saying that no, no, I can't do this. This is beyond me. Now, yes, chances are that we may not have done this in the past. Chances are that it may be very difficult, and chances are that it may take a lot from us to actually achieve it. But if we defeat ourselves in our own minds, how are we going to succeed out there? And this talk of self doubt and self defeat is nothing but an interference, putting a black curtain where the light cannot pass through at all. And the last interference, the sixth interference I've spoken of, is my life is a struggle. Why me? That poor me attitude. And yes, it is true that many of us have struggled, are struggling in our own ways. So, first of all, to think that I'm the only one struggling is wrong, because everyone has got their own set of challenges. But to live with that paradigm that, my life is a struggle, then life will become a struggle, and that every effort is also going to be a huge effort and a big struggle. But rather, if we live with the paradigm that, listen, yes, I have some interesting challenges and experiences in life, but life is meant to be lived and enjoyed, and it's an opportunity, it's an experience, then the energy will be free flowing. But if it's a struggle in my head, then I'm already blocking the free flow of energy, because I'm feeding myself negative energy. So, living in the past, being conditioned by a fear, being conditioned by overconfidence, conditioned by attachment, being conditioned by the uh, words that I can't do it, and living with the attitude that my life is a struggle, these six, are interferences that really block the flow of our energy and potential.
Wow, it's amazing that you've actually broken it up into those things. But just for a little bit of a better understanding, can you give us some examples on actually how do these internal interferences manifest in us, every day? And because most of it happens unknowingly, you don't realize it. So just to throw a little more light, how does it manifest in us?
So it starts off with, let's say, an external responsibility, right? And it immediately triggers off a first feeling in us, right? It could be a feeling of fear. So I'll give you an example. Let's say I get an income tax notice. My first thought is, oh my God, there's a scrutiny, there's a notice, and I have to do, I don't know, I can't handle this. And, what if something goes wrong? Now, in that, I'm working myself up so much that my ability to address it, answer it, and take care of it gets completely compromised. And invariably, I will make a mistake and I will succumb under the pressure. Second is when, like it happened with us, right? Very recently, now government policy is changing. Now, the first thought is, look, uh, what happens to our business if the policy completely changes? Then the second thought was, I don't know whether I'll be able to manage, a new scenario, and I don't think I can do it. And then, why is this happening to me? We've done nothing wrong to anybody else, so why should we have to go through all this? And in the past, many, many, many years ago, which when I was much younger, I saw a similar situation, and I know how it badly disrupted us. Now, when all that starts entering the mind, what it is doing is it is not allowing the innovation, the creativity, the solution, the positivity, and the energy to flow through. Because all that exists, when that is trying to come out, all these are like curtains blocking that light from passing through. So, to answer your question, awareness of what's going on outside, but vigilance of what's going on inside is the answer to first identifying the interference, detecting it, negating it, not allowing it to take root, and then substituting it with a more solution oriented, positive, dynamic, energetic approach to say, okay, this has happened, fine, now what?
Amazing. When you're saying this, one of the things that, when you say that internal interferences that come across, for me, it's also to be, the thoughts that come across my mind while listening to you is, there are certain positive aspects also. Now, one of the things that's actually impacted me, like, from our societal and social exposure that we have. When you think of a Sindhi or a Gujarati, what do you think? What do you think they must be doing? Oh, they must be in business, right? And when you meet a South Indian, what do you think he must be doing? Oh, he must be a highly qualified guy and a professional. And I was always fascinated. Why do these things, and why do people kind of follow these kind of things? Why do you form such opinions about these things? And these are all ecosystems that actually get created, and you're part of that ecosystem, and they are also internal. They are also interferences that limit us in a certain way. Say, for example, if you are in an ecosystem where you are surrounded by entrepreneurs and you want to become a professional, that's a limiting force, and vice versa. But here's a positive approach. Now, if you know this exists, one of the things that I'm saying is, listen, and that's the way I look at it. If you have a purpose and you have a goalpost to get there, then you need to make sure that you're also surrounded by that ecosystem that facilitates that. So, to a certain extent, these interferences or these internal interferences happen to you. They can also be positive in your life. It's about playing with these things, the realities of life, and how you can use it to your advantage. And one of the things when I was reading the reflection also came into my mind was, you spoke about the attitude, the attitude in the way you manage these interferences. You should elaborate more on that.
So, also just to pick up from what you said, our own internal biases and prejudices also are huge interferences.
Yeah.
You know, we, I mean, just to put it in a lighter way, you meet a Sindhi or a Gujarati, and then we crack jokes. I mean, I'm a Sindhi, so I can crack Sindhi jokes. But sometimes we actually say, oh, if this person is from this background, then this person must be like this. Now, that is actually interference because I'm not allowing that person to, I'm not giving that person a fair chance to truly, for me to truly interact with that person without this prejudice, bias, and or filter. You know, so that is extremely important. Now, when we see an interference rising within, I think it's important for us to recognize it as an interference first. We don't even recognize it as an interference. We just recognize the fact that I got angry, that I got fearful, that I can't do this. I was, my mind packed up. I froze. I got that notice and I didn't know what to do, and I just kind of froze for 2 days. So I couldn't even go to the office, right? Stuff like that. The second is I think, Ajit, and this I think comes with a little bit of introspection, that what is it that we want out of life? End of the day, we all want to be happy. We do everything for happiness. Then leads us to the question, what will make me happy? One is, of course, getting what I want from the external world, fulfilling my desires like we spoke about in our last week's podcast. But the other thing that's going to give me a lot of happiness and joy is my inner reservoir of joy. So then comes that, listen, if anything is interfering between me and that reservoir of joy within, I don't want it in my life. And how can I overcome it, and how can I go beyond it? Now, it is very natural to be fearful. It is very natural to be attached. It is very natural for past memories to come. Our ability to acknowledge it without engaging in it, and I'm going to repeat that, our ability to acknowledge it and see it without engaging in it, and without that becoming the operating paradigm, is the way in which we can keep all these interferences away from obstructing our maximization of potential. And I want to read out the last few lines of the reflection which I had kind of summed up. Just because the mirror doesn't reflect light does not mean that the light doesn't exist. It just means that the surface needs to be cleaned. And that's very similar to us also. Just because very often we don't feel our joy, we don't feel that power, doesn't mean that the power has gone away, that the battery internally has been discharged. No, the power is very much there, that joy is very much there. It's just we're not feeling it because there's a lot of mud and dust emotionally which needs to be cleaned out, just like the light reflecting on the mirror. And I've ended the reflection with these two sentences, which are these two sentences, which one of my favorite. The light within is far too powerful and waiting to express itself. We just need to dust off our interferences. And that becomes one of our goals in life. The external goal is to achieve what I want to achieve in terms of my business, my profession, my networks, my friendships, and everything else that I'm trying to achieve, making a difference in the lives of people, creating value. But my inner goal is to keep removing those interferences so that I'm living a full life.
Amazing. Before I actually wind up, I know we might go a few minutes, but I really wanted to ask this question. This is, more because we have a lot of entrepreneurs who've been listening to us and who engage with us through our podcast. And here's what I would say: the ability to say no in business. How much of that is an internal interference that limits us, especially from the context of running an enterprises? Just to say no, you can say no to customers, no to people, no to so many things around your enterprise, because we tend to build businesses saying that I want this, I want this, I want this. How much of that is a internal interference? The ability to say no.
Well, let me put it differently. It might actually be a big enabler, because success is not only knowing what to do, but equally knowing what not to do. Living a fulfilled life in business and building a great, valuable enterprise is not only about going and doing things, but also knowing what not to do. Our willingness and ability to say no comes from A, our clarity as to what is important for us in our business. B, how will value get created in the lives of all the stakeholders. Third, what are the core values and systems that I want to adhere to and do not want to compromise, even if there is, let's say, a financial upside, but at the cost of, eroding some of the long-term institution building measures that I'm putting into place. So I don't think saying no is an interference. On the contrary, I think it's a demonstration of strength, as long as it is not coming from ego. That I'm saying no because I'm more powerful than you, and I choose to say no, out of arrogance. Yes, then there is a huge problem. Then my ego is interfering with my value creation. So I think as business leaders, anything that comes in our way of creating value becomes an interference to the business. Some of it is external. The external ones are still easy to identify and deal with. So if there is, for example, a competitor who's come with predatory pricing or disruptive technology, now that's an interference to what we were doing. Yes, we will respond to it. But the business leader has to be equally aware, of his or her own internal interferences, because funnily, sooner or later, those become the interferences of the organization, because culture flows top down. My fear will become the organizational fear. My attachments will become the organizational setbacks. My arrogance will become the organizational arrogance. My past, if I'm still steeped in that and I'm not able to let go and move beyond, the organization is going to be held back. Which is why very often the personal journey is not divorced from the professional journey. And which is why we need to sometimes spend a lot more time in knowing what's going on in here to be successful out there.
Amazing. Well, that's the time that we have for today. Join our dialogue on the social media platforms. Share your questions, your learnings, and the insights you have gained from this episode. It's from these shared experiences and perspectives that we all grow and learn. So don't hesitate to reach out and contribute to this ongoing conversation and share it with your friends. Well, that's it, what we have for today. And join us next week for another enriching episode of Life.EV, where we continue our exploration into the world of exploring values in our lives. Thank you, Vivek, for your valuable contributions today. We're looking forward to diving deeper into these critical discussions in our next session. So, see you next week, where we unravel more insights and perspectives that shape our ethical compass. Thank you for listening, and remember to reach out to your friends and get a conversation going on life exploring values. Thank you, Vivek. See you next week.
Thanks, Ajit. Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.